So an encyclopedia is just the beginning. When I think about, sorry, I have allergies and I'm really hoping I'm not going to have a coughing fit, but so far so good. So when I think about my work more broadly, when I think about participatory culture, what I'm trying to do is basically bring in a new age of media in which everyone has the possibility to participate, and not just participate in the sense of randomly putting up a Twitter comment or a blog post or something like this, but actually participate in building something important and meaningful to them. And so for this, the encyclopedia was just the beginning. When you go to a traditional library and you go and you say, I'd like to see the encyclopedia, please, they'll bring you to a set of books about this big on the shelf. And that's the encyclopedia. But if you think about the library is much, much bigger. And this is what we're doing at Wikia, which is my new company. So at Wikia, we're allowing people to build every kind of community, every kind of book or work that people want to build. And we're seeing very similar growth to what we saw at Wikipedia in the early days. So in our 36 months since launch, we got to 600 million page views. Wikipedia was at 800 million. So Wikipedia was growing a little faster, but we're doing very well. We're currently 72nd most popular website. This is according to Quantcast. And our traffic's been doubling every year. So we're doing very, very well, and we're very pleased about that. And the community at Wikia, they're creating a new wiki every 6 minutes. So there's this huge rush of people, and they're just beginning all of these amazing projects. Almost any movie, book, video game, TV show, series of books, celebrity, people are coming and beginning to start their own encyclopedia. Every kind of political movement, every kind of, we have a wiki about pet diabetes, if you can imagine. Apparently pets have diabetes and it's a big problem for people, and they get together on the wiki and they share information. So this is going on and kind of bubbling underneath the surface of the internet, and I don't think it's really pierced people's consciousness yet, but all of these hundreds of thousand wikis, they're all growing very quickly, and we're going to see something really amazing happening, I think, in the next few years. Already our traffic rivals that of the New York Times. Now keep in mind, this is Wikia, which you've probably never heard of before today, not Wikipedia. Wikipedia's traffic is dramatically higher than the New York Times for many years now. And so what's interesting is when we think about how people are consuming media, it's really changing. And one of the interesting things is how quickly brands can be built today. Wikipedia is now a global brand name. People know it everywhere I go. Everyone on the internet knows Wikipedia. Now, not everybody's on the internet yet, but everybody who's on the internet knows Wikipedia. And our total spending for marketing is essentially zero. It all grew by word of mouth. It all grew by putting together something of quality that people care about. And at Wikia, we're trying to do the same thing. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk a little bit more about China, and then I'm going to talk about our impact around the world. I think China is an interesting case because China is a huge market, and they're really one of the most important places on the internet. The number of internet users in China is now approximately equal. I haven't seen the latest number, but it's very close to the number of internet users in the United States, and is going to pass very quickly. So it's the largest number of users. In our Chinese language version of Wikipedia, we have 302,000 articles, but the internet is censored in China. The internet is heavily censored in China. And this is something that we've always struggled with. We are now the 62nd most popular site in China, primarily because we were banned for 3 years. So unlike Google, we decided a long time ago that because Wikipedia is a charity, because Wikipedia is... It means something about human rights, it means something about access to information, access to knowledge, that we would never compromise on censorship, and we've stuck to that very firmly through all these years. Google, quite famously, made the decision to go into China and to compromise with censorship in China. I was critical of that decision, as were a lot of people, although I would say, in fairness to Google, they always made the argument that they were in China trying to be a positive force for change. I think that the question of whether or not companies should be doing business in China, particularly media companies, particularly internet media companies, which have to deal with the question of citizen participation, whether or not you should be doing business in China is very similar to the question of whether or not we should have been doing business in apartheid South Africa. And I think that reasonable people can differ. One approach is to say, no, we can't be there at all, we're going to boycott, we can't participate at all. The other approach is to say, we're going to be there, but we're going to go in under a set of principles that allows us to be a positive force for change. Google did the latter, and I didn't agree with them, but I did say it's a point where reasonable people can differ. And what I've always said is that we need to hold Google's feet to the fire. When push comes to shove, what are they really going to do? Are they really there because they're trying to be a positive force for change, or are they just there to make money? Well, as it turns out, quite famously recently, Google has decided to pull out of China. And they decided to pull out of China when they felt that they could no longer participate in what was going on there. So I'm very proud of Google. Some people have been cynical about them pulling out, saying, well, they were not winning in China anyway, so what does it really cost them? The truth is Google's market share in China had gotten up to about 35%. I don't know how many companies would kill to get 35% of the Chinese market. So it is a significant step that Google has taken, and I think is really important for their brand in the long run. I think it's really important for China in the long run, that people are willing to stand up and say, this is a human rights issue. You can no longer treat your citizens in this way. We aren't talking about some marginal filtering of highly questionable terrorist information. We're talking about filtering mainstream criticism of the government is just no longer acceptable. Well, so we pay a price for this. The interesting thing about our situation in China is that we are now accessible in China. I've gone over, visited the minister. He's come to visit me. We have a little friendly diplomacy back and forth. And we got to a place which was interesting in a way. We don't filter at all, and we don't participate in the censorship at all. However, we can't stop China from participating. I mean, from them doing it. We can't. It's their network. It's their firewall. They can block certain things. But what they've done is they filter the pages they don't like. So certain things like Tiananmen Square or Falun Gong, certain pages discussing the question of the status of Taiwan. These are very touchy issues within China, and they filter those pages. The rest of Wikipedia is completely accessible in China. What's interesting about that is that we managed to get to the same place that Google got to, but without getting our hands dirty. We were in China, but we are filtered in China. Google was in China, but filtered in China. The difference is Google had to participate. Now Google's pulled out of China. Now they're broadcasting their Chinese language site from Hong Kong. And currently, and who knows what's going to happen in the future, currently they're now in the same position we are, which is their Chinese language site coming from Hong Kong is fully uncensored. It's a complete normal Google. Within China, though, the Chinese government is blocking certain search results and certain things. So it's an interesting development, and I think it'll be very interesting to see how this emerges over the next few years. I think that China has begun to understand that their approach to filtering the internet is no longer tenable, and they are changing. But we'll see. Well, so anyway, so we've been blocked in China. We're only number 62 in China. We're not nearly as famous in China. It's the one place I go where I can meet college students who've never heard of Wikipedia. But nonetheless, we've had a cultural impact in China of sorts. Here's a menu someone sent me from Beijing. Wikipedia fried with eggs. So what the hell is this? Here's another one, also from Beijing. Beef brisket in Wikipedia flavor. There's a Wikipedia bread company in Dalian, China. I was in Dalian, and somebody brought me some bread from the Wikipedia bread company. It was quite good. So somebody said to me, that, I started getting these. People send me these in mail, and somebody emailed me one, and they said, Jimmy, what does this mean? And I said, I have no idea. Stir-fried Wikipedia. I like the spicy stir-fried Wikipedia with pimentos. But I said, well, I know who will know. We have a Chinese board member, Ting, and I said to Ting, I said, what does this mean? And he said, Jimmy, I have no idea. Nobody really knows what this is all about. The only thing that we've managed to figure out is that right before the Olympics, they needed to translate a lot of the menus into English because a lot of foreigners were coming. So we think that somebody was tasked at different restaurants, you need to translate the menu. They didn't really know English. And they said, what is this kind of thing? And somebody says, I don't know, go and look in Wikipedia. And they said, Wikipedia. That's our only thing. So no idea. Steam eggs with Wikipedia, my favorite. So the last thing I'm going to do, it's a really fun kind of thing, is global content comparisons. I throw this in because I think it's a really interesting slide. A lot of people say, you've got Wikipedia in all these languages all around the world. How does it differ around the world? In terms of the content, in terms of what's written in Wikipedia, it's very, very similar around the world. But we do see differences in the traffic patterns from the readers. So this is, we did a study of the 100 most popular pages in Wikipedia in several different languages around the world. So we have here English, Chinese, Japanese, French, German, Russian, and Spanish. And in each of these, you can see which category, which type of article is the most popular. So the first thing that jumps out at you is Japanese. Look at the big green line, pop culture. So if you know anything about Japan, this makes perfect sense. The Japanese love pop culture. They're really fanatical about it. They love English pop culture. They love Japanese homegrown pop culture. It's perfectly normal that this would be the most popular thing in Japan. Another thing I notice is that the Germans are the most interested in geography. Not sure if that's a good thing. I hope most of the Germans didn't make it today, but just kidding. But it is true. They do. And in fact, it is actually very interesting. The Germans are very interested in geography, history. The German Wikipedia is the highest quality Wikipedia. And they're very, true to stereotype, I suppose, but the Germans are very intense about quality, and they're very academic. It's a very passionately academic Wikipedia. And then the last thing you notice is that sex is popular in every language, except for French and Spanish. I was a little puzzled by this until somebody explained to me it's because the French and the Spanish are actually having sex, whereas the rest of us are all just reading about it. So, well, that's the end of my prepared remarks, and now we're going to have some questions. Thank you.